You ready? Welcome, everybody, to Hearts and Stars podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Babika, CEO of the Little Lighthouse Foundation, with my partner in crime, my co-pilot for life, Missy Babika.
Thank you.
We are here today. I'm incredibly excited. I just told her, I'm so happy we got you on this podcast because we just really wanted to get to know you better and become closer friends with you. Whitney Kroenke Silverstein.
Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
She is the co-founder of Playing for Change Foundation and partner at Barry's Miami,
Correct.
both of which we absolutely adore. And we're going to take a deep dive because Barry is his family. It's a culture. It's a movement. Missy works out there 6 days a week. I'm about 4 on average.
Morning therapy.
Wow, guys. I didn't realize it was 6 and 4. So
on a good week. On a good week.
Actually, that's couple goals. I think
That is.
we could be up there.
You could be up there. You are up there with our regulars for sure.
Yes.
You are our regulars, yes. The
So-
regularist, if that's even
Yes.
of the
The
regular.
most frequentist.
Yes, exactly.
Playing for Change.
Yes.
Playing for Change. Wow. I just love the scope of everything. You know, as we discussed, we're kind of extracting these nuggets of wisdom for you, which we call dropping a gem on them. So I want to navigate your journey, build this piece by piece and giving access to the kids, you know, that we serve,
Absolutely.
but everybody. I mean, as you and I discussed, on an elementary level, just break it down for people so that they can like fully absorb everything, right?
For sure. So Playing for Change actually started as a documentary film project back in August of 2001. So about a couple weeks before 9/11 actually ended up happening. It was we started as a project too, which really shaped the trajectory of the project. But it started as a documentary on street musicians in America. And I had been connected with my business partner, Mark Johnson, through a mutual friend, and he was is a sound engineer, and had wanted to bring the recording studio energy to the streets as opposed to plucking people off the streets and putting them in a studio.
I love
He
it.
was
That's so
working in a
cool.
studio in New York at the time and had been traveling to the studio on the subway and had like an aha moment where these monks were singing in the subway station, and he looked around and saw everyone had stopped, like little kids, older people, black, white, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, every like walk of life was represented in the subway platform, and everyone, he said, had stopped.
Wow.
And he just really had a moment of clarity where he thought, what I'm hearing on the way to the studio is better than what I'm hearing in the studio, or not better, or complementary, or
Right.
equal to what I'm hearing in the studio. And I really want to figure out a way to record people in these moments. And so he came up with a mobile recording studio, which in 2001 was really unheard of. You know, this was pre-iPhones, pre-iPods, the mobility of audio quality equipment that we have now. And we were connected, and within a couple of hours of meeting, we decided, hey, let's go make this movie. And I had been doing theater at the time in London and was just super interested in street performance because I worked with a lot of actors in this play that had done, they had studied at a place in Paris where part of their curriculum was miming, and they had to go out on the streets and mime. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like that's so brave. The immediacy of being right in front of your audience. And so that's really the thread that connected us. And within a few months, we were out recording. We had set our goal of doing 10, well, not a goal, our plan for the film was to do 10 cities in the U.S. We had budgeted for 10. We, as one does in there when you're 20 or 21, we didn't do it quite correctly. I call this our graduate school. We ran out of money after 3 cities, but it was Los Angeles, New Orleans, and New York that we had recorded and filmed in, and we had this incredible richness of not just music, but the stories of the people behind the music, and
Sure.
and and we ended up making a documentary. And out of that documentary, we really saw the possibility and the potential of connecting people through songs that weren't together geographically. Again, this is like the YouTube, pre anything where people were sharing music in small videos or audio snippets. So we would start a song in one location, put the headphones on somebody, they'd play, record. We would travel to the next location, put the headphones on someone else that was playing on the street. They would hear the musician from another city and were like, what? This is amazing. Like, I'm playing with someone I'm not sitting in front of.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is really incredible. This has incredible potential to connect people of different backgrounds, in different locations and different, completely different geographies, and therefore potentially across conflict zones or different, ways of thinking. We should try to do this around the globe. And so we were like, we're going to do it again. Let's try to make a second movie. Because again, same time, there wasn't a YouTube. There
Right.
wasn't a way really in which to share. So you just went out and made a whole documentary and then you sold it to a channel or whatever. And we started traveling to South Africa. The film crew went to Nepal, South America, and we really started these things that now Playing for Change is known for, the songs around the world. And out of that project launched the foundation. We really said, wow, like these people that we're meeting, these communities we're going into are so extraordinary. How can we help you? Or how can we help leave this better? And we had, some very open, honest conversations, which I can talk about more. I think music is a great opener of doors.
Yeah.
And we launched the Playing for Change Foundation in late 2007. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's
out of that,
amazing.
yeah. And now we
Wow.
have, I believe, we are up to like 84 program locations. This is of this week, as of today, across like 84 programs across, I think, 27 different geographic locations. So,
Wow.
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. Yeah.
Well, the music program empowers youth.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear about that and hear about some highlights and also your recent journey.
Yes. We recently went to Uganda. My husband and I went with the Playing for Change Foundation team, and it's been a number of years since I've been able to go to a program visit, and let alone one this far away. And this one was super special. It is a music program we did in partnership with a group called Sina Loketa in a refugee settlement. So this is a refugee settlement. There's 200,000 people living there, South Sudanese refugees that crossed the border into Uganda starting in 2016. So really recently. And
Yeah.
they were fleeing, a very extremist militia, and very, very scary stuff. And Uganda is one of the countries that offers, respite and safe haven. And the Ugandan government is one of the only governments that provide, they were giving away plots of land. So, in the settlement, you could come, you would be given a plot of land and you could set up a homestead. So they have been there now 8 years, people coming and going, people are still arriving. It's amazing. Like I said, 200,000 people, 77% of those are under the age of 30.
Wow.
A lot of them have seen, their parents fail on the walk over really horrible things that have happened in front of them. But they've found this place, and what's really extraordinary is there's a bunch of different tribes represented there. I think something I heard in the 80s, 80 something tribes represented that in South Sudan weren't necessarily, didn't really get along. What we witnessed when we went to the opening of the music program, and the music program is a pavilion that acts as an amphitheater community gathering space. It also collects rainwater in the middle because they still, you're boiling your water. It's, wells and things like that. So for water supplies. And it has 2 classrooms that'll be used for music education, and then a recording studio, which is like incredible opportunity
Right.
for people to come and have an chance to express themselves and learn skills and things like that. So we it was a really powerful journey to see the positivity that comes from community, and the joy and the hopefulness. That's what I think music does. It's not necessarily maybe about creating or a musician or a professional musician, but about giving kids a place to go, to show up, to express themselves, to make a connection with another child, an adult.
Yeah.
To have, a place, a sense of place, and a sense of place to express. So.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, I know. Sorry if I'm long-winded.
No, not at all. I love this. My brain is trying to, structure everything because, I just like, just the takeaways.
Yes, of course.
That's like the biggest thing here because I think expression is so important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think expression and passion and following that. So I kind of want to take you back a little bit, before hitting the streets for Playing for Change, which, mind you, I can't wait to jump in a little bit deeper because I love these stories of evolution, of starting on the streets to witness these monks in the subway and, everybody being captivated to you going into it. Basically, you were kind of like in a different culture setting and different cultures coming together to witness that. And then you just completely catapulted that with the foundation and bringing music, this extension of expressionness and like a safe place to like many, many places around the globe. So I think that's just, just hats off to you. Such a huge accomplishment. But I want to know about Whitney. Missy thinks it's kind of funny when I'm like Whitney as a kid. What were you like?
Yeah.
But
No.
I think it's important because we want to tap in, to these kids and say like, this is Whitney. I know that you were a dancer.
I was.
I know you did a couple off-Broadway things with it, Sing in London, and Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
But when you were younger, did you had a passion for the arts?
Yes.
You started on this journey. What did that look like to bring you to that subway station with, and I think it's kind of hysterical, even looking back at some movies in like the mid-90s, and you're like, why couldn't he just text him? Why didn't he just film that with his cell phone?
sure,
They don't have anything. So you navigated when there wasn't any technology, nor did you know it would exist.
Right.
But so back to it.
Well, I grew up in Missouri. I grew up Midwestern, college town. Both my parents are from the Midwest, from little towns in Missouri, very little town on my dad's side, and a slightly larger, but still a little town of 3,000 on my mom's side. So very Midwestern upbringing. I, from a very young age, really loved dance. I was a really quiet child. My mom likes to remember it differently now. And she's like, no, you weren't. And I'm like, I remember being painfully shy. I remember feeling like painfully shy. Like in school, I was a good student. I really loved school. I still love learning. But I loved anything physical. So, and especially just anything physical, artistic. I was kind of like not a solo person. Like I had friends, obviously, but I loved dance to me was very, I loved the discipline of it. I loved the artistry of it, and that's what I stuck with. And I went. I grew up in Missouri, competing in dance, doing a ton of theater. I went on to Northwestern University in Chicago for their theater program and dance. And out of that is where I found myself in LA. I had gotten a dance scholarship to Los Angeles when I was 14 in the summer. And my parents had never been to LA at that time. And so they took me to California for the 2 weeks of my dance scholarship. And the three of us shared a hotel room at Universal City. I'll never forget. And they would drive me to the studio every day in North Hollywood and sit there and watch me. They were amazing.
Wow.
And yeah, they really remember this because my brother was at camp. I have a younger brother. And so they took me the 2 weeks he was at camp and stayed with me and drove me to the studio and watched me do it. And I remember my eyes just being like opened up to this world of like you know, these are people that are out here like trying to make it in the entertainment industry. I mean, I was kind of in the middle. This was a professional studio, so you had all these professional dancers that were coming, and that's where they'd take class, and they were the ones in Janet Jackson videos and this, and I mean, it was to a Midwestern girl like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like I've got to be out here. So after college, my parents were like, listen, you got to go to college. There was no not going to college. And I was like, well, I'll go to college in LA then. And they were like, we'll steer you back towards somewhere
for a couple weeks.
little more
Not a long stay.
central. So I went to school in Chicago, got a degree in theater, Bachelor of Speech and Theater from Northwestern, excellent theater program. And then after college, moved right to LA. And was working. I was like interning at Fox Television Studios. I was taking dance class. Then a friend of mine from college was directing a very like avant-garde version of Romeo and Juliet in London, and said, "Will you come over and choreograph it and play a role in it?" So we did that, and that's where I encountered the actors from Paris that had been studying all of this street performance, and that is where I got the interest in what they were doing. And then that is the conversation I then had with a friend back in LA who said, you should meet my friend Mark.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it's just, you know, there's a lot, like you said, to unpack there, but did I ever think I would be running or helping to oversee now a major nonprofit?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But what I found was just that through art and art's, you know, expression, like I look back at my childhood and think, what would I have done without dancing?
Yeah.
I don't really, you know, I don't know. I think every kid should be able to experience, you know, some sort of self-expression like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's vitally important.
I think it's interesting because I kind of feel like it's almost like America's Got Talent, but it's not like in the studio. You're hitting the streets and getting that raw talent, that undiscovered talent.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Yes.
That's amazing. And whereas you were, and that's why we kind of like dig into this, right? The outcome of how you did what you did and who you became is so important because you took those steps and you were courageous enough to go to LA. To go to London, you know, when asked. So, you know, just really kind of like, I advocate that in terms of, you know, these students and the youth that we work with to really be bold enough.
I think it's being open as well to opportunities, even if there may be like a little bit. I would say don't be afraid to pivot. You know, pivoting is not bad. Like it's not abandoning your goals if you pivot to take a slightly different direction.
Yeah.
I think it's more about being open to exploring something that's maybe slightly off the path that you think you're going to be on, because that then may be your total path.
Right.
Because now I've been doing this for 20 years and we're making a massive amount of impact through something I love, but it's not me dancing in front of people. I mean, I did get drug into quite a few dances in Uganda, which was amazing.
I can't say you won't on this podcast.
I know my husband said, "Oh, you still got it, babe."
That's great.
It was
I
funny.
want to see
I was
that.
like, "All right, yeah." Doesn't feel the same, but it self-expression comes in a million different ways. And had I been told probably at age 15, you know, you're not going to be dancing professionally at age 40. I mean, who does? But I mean, actually, people are doing it now.
Yeah.
Right.
I would have probably been like, wait, what? What are you talking about? But it is okay and great to be willing to pivot and explore different ways in which to use your talents. I think is a great way to a mindset, you know.
Yeah. Does Izzy, your 3-year-old, still know Mama's got the moves?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we danced this morning yes, Izzy loves to dance. We were a little late to school because we were dancing to Zootopia. Shakira, she loves.
Oh, there you
Shakira.
go. Of course.
So Izzy's 3.
She's 3.
And you now have her, we were talking about, you have her in ballet.
Yes.
And she's loving it.
She is. She does love it. She loves, she's got some, I have like a video of her as a baby doing some pretty epic dance moves. Like she couldn't even walk, but she was like rolling and then throwing her head back with her toe pointed. And I was like, that's my girl.
Yeah. And
She
she
came from
she
me.
actually just got to see Taylor Swift.
She did. She
Yeah.
did get to see Taylor Swift. It was slightly ambitious to take a 3-year-old,
Yeah.
but she loved it. She was
And
with
she
her
lasted
cousins.
through
and
the whole concert?
She did not last the whole concert. She lasted about a third, I'd say, but she saw like the whole opener, and
Yeah.
then she saw about a third of Taylor, and then it hit. We got home at 10:30 on a
That's
school
great.
night, so
That's
and she
great.
was dancing still.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
yeah.
envision myself with my kids at 3. I was like the king of shoulders. So
Yeah,
they'd
it was a
probably be on
lot
my
of
shoulders.
carrying.
Where was she on the hip?
On the hip, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
shout out to all the frenzy. I mean, there was just like absolute like incredible.
Yeah.
Passionate chaos going on with like moms
Yes.
and dads and their kids like going.
My friend that
And the
invited us
sparkles.
with her daughters, said it was an act of sheer love to take a small child to the concert. So it was really fun and really special to see her. I mean, she's been seeing live music since she was about 6 weeks old. Was her first like bluegrass show, and she was in a headphones and attached to Nick's chest, and she's loved it since she was a baby. But this was her first like big arena
Yeah.
stadium concert.
And what a concert to see.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
I was a famous singer in the past life.
I like that. I
She
know. I always
showcases that
wished I could sing.
on the
as-
weekends.
I am not a. I am. I can carry a tune, but I can't sing. And I always wished I could sing. I just love that form of expression. So
Yeah, me
Now,
too.
Izzy, your 3-year-old daughter, is getting exposure to ballet and to
Yeah.
concerts and these different things that you're giving her access to. What do you think about her and the influence of philanthropy and playing for change? And does she? Because I know I had my kids even when they were newborns. I would take them on site when I
Yeah.
went to programs. So, does she? Do you think she has the vision to take over Mama's work as?
I hope that she
CEO?
has compassion, and I hope that she has an openness of spirit and curiosity. I see it in her. Yeah.
She will.
I love to bring her. I'm really excited. It was just a little too far, this Uganda trip.
Yeah.
But it was extraordinary. And we talked the whole time about how we can't wait to bring her to some programs. So actually, we have a program visit. We partner with an organization here in Miami, Young Musicians Unite. And they serve thousands of
Yes.
kids across. You guys are familiar, I'm assuming. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're a wonderful organization. So we have a program visit coming up in a few weeks, and I might see about taking her out of school and taking her there so she can see some of what these kids are doing.
So worth
But
it.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
That's an education.
yeah,
She
she loves people, and I think coming from that is a goal as a parent. I want her to be a caring, loving person, and I think that philanthropy comes out of that, naturally.
Philanthropy, business. You have a business family.
I do.
What kind of values have transcended? Because I know that we've discussed you appreciate your family values, and so what does that look like as you're raising the future of your family?
I'd say the biggest thing was just the work ethic. There was an extremely Midwestern, solid work ethic. You show up and you work every day on something. My dad always said, there was no, Nick will laugh, my husband Nick, I love you, babe, because I say this a lot, but I do really firmly believe it, that an idle mind is the devil's playpen, is what he always used to say. So there was no hanging around in our household. Like he was like, I don't care what you do, per se, just do something.
Yeah.
Like you have to get out and do something. You're just not going to sit, because that's where kids get antsy and then get bad and bad behavior or whatever. So it was it was hobbies, it was work, it was summer jobs, it was internships. There was no TV, there was no hanging around.
There was no iPads back
Yeah,
then.
no. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what it would have been like, because that just, we're in the challenging. You guys
Right.
have kids, you know how that is. The line, where's the line between, this is reality, but we also don't want you on it. But
when is it not
yeah.
a necessary evil?
Exactly. But yeah, there is a couple core values in the family companies. You know, it's always treat people as you want to be treated. So it's about treating people with respect, treating people with like I just said, the same way you would want and expect to be treated. There's no I'm better than you, I'm worse than you. It's everyone is on an equal playing field, and really show up. I'm big on showing up. You know, half of it is just showing up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Suit up and show
Yeah.
up.
So I think that you know, just the repetition, the discipline I was talking about in dance, and Missy and I were talking about it earlier. She was asking what kind of dance I did, and I said, oh, jazz, modern, and I said, but always ballet. And then and I said, there's a thing with dancers where, you know, all of the root of all dance comes from ballet, and ballet is extremely discipline based. So it's not necessarily, you know, the classes for me. And I think, you know, other kids grow, you know, the 3 days a week of 2 hours of ballet wasn't, you know, the most fun, but it was probably the thing that has made it like why I can still point my feet at my age. You know, it's because we showed up and we did that every day. The discipline of the repetition, of the bar, and the consistency. Right. So I think, you know, they're basic lessons, but they're ones that have stood the test of time for a reason. So, you know, treat people how you want to be treated, you know, show up, you know, stay busy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Layla, our 10-year-old, she didn't last with ballet. She didn't love ballet, but she was taking piano lessons, and she said, I don't want to do piano anymore, and she quit. And I let her quit, but then it just bothered me.
Yeah.
So then I took her to see Lady Gaga. So she's also doing voice lessons, and
That's great.
so she got to see the concert of her playing the piano and singing, and she said, okay, Mom, I want to take piano lessons. So she's back, and I think it's so important that, you know, we help our kids stick with it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, there's a parent and there's a child, and we're there to guide them. And yes, it's important to listen to, of course, everything that they have to say, but it's also, we're there to guide them and encourage them to stick with stuff. So,
I agree.
There would have been a lot of days I didn't want to go to ballet. But guess who was driving me there every day? Mom. You know, it was happening. So
I hear it from both of these moms over here, and you know, I do it too. And sometimes it's a little bit of tough love and pushing them in the right direction. And whether it may not come in the mom and dad form, it might come in the form of like a volunteer or a program like from the Little Lighthouse Foundation, or a program from Playing for Change. Right? They get into it and they're playing the piano, but they don't want to stick with it. It's like constant pushing. So
that's showing them the example of like a Lady Gaga or someone that is playing the piano, I think is really smart.
Totally.
Yeah, agreed. So, I mean, it sounds like you're like kind of a well-rounded athlete almost, if you will. I mean, I know like dance and theater, singing, fitness.
Yes. Berries. Let's talk about Berries, Miami.
Well, I mean, Berries, it really, really does make sense when you look at like a dance background. I love going to a studio. Like, I love it. I love a class. I like the camaraderie of a group. Right. I love the environment of like, it's a community of people. And when I started actually going to Barry's in LA, when I lived in LA, and my friend James took me to a class taught by a guy named Derek. And actually the first class I ever took was by Barry. And I was so scared because I knew how hard it was.
Well, I heard he was scary.
He was. Well, he would. If you were like a second late, you had to run the stairs. Yeah. If you did something, if you didn't like stick with his inclines, he'd make you do a wall sit, and he'd come sit on your lap.
Oh my! I
mean, he was intense.
How many people?
The
walked
kindest
out of there?
person you'll ever meet in the entire world. At the end of the day, but I didn't know this. I had just driven by it on the corner of La Cienega and forever, and been too scared to go because I just had heard nightmares about how hard it was. And my friend James took me, and he was like, we went for a few months on and off, and not on and off, but just I went as much as I could stand. It was hard. I'm not a runner really. So it was challenging. And James said to me after a while, he said, they're franchising. He had gone to school in Miami at UM and wanted to come back to Miami and open a Barry's here. And so I was like, yeah, that's great. And so we had taken class from this guy, Derek, and who was quite the instructor. And the three of us put together a proposal to franchise Barry's Miami. And so at the time, I hadn't spent a lot of time here. They moved right away, James and Derek, and I came a couple years later when we were opening the second studio.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I thought I would be here a few months, but then met my husband, and here we are.
Wow.
House and baby, and 8 years later.
So,
And 3 studios.
yeah.
We have the most wonderful clients, hence this is how I know you guys.
Barry's
Right?
is our jam.
Yeah. It's just the best environment.
It's the best environment.
It's such a good workout. It's such a fun workout. It's like going to, it's like going to a dance
therapy.
studio. It's therapy.
It's morning
Yeah.
therapy.
Yes.
Or if we're like having like a little like
Oh, yeah.
irritation with each other,
You
we're
go
like,
to Barry's.
That never
let's just
happens.
go
Never.
work out, and then afterwards, all is well.
I met my husband at a Barry's event. So, and then he taught after that.
Oh,
Yeah, he
wow.
wasn't teaching at the time. He was doing mixology, and he came to do mixology at a Barry's event, and that's how we met.
And Derek DeGrazio, who's going to be a guest,
Yeah.
partner with you.
Yes.
So you, Whitney, Derek, and James.
Yeah, James.
3 amazing humans. I love each of you. Like, James is just, he's special. I work out with him at the Midtown location. Derek, at least twice a week, I work out with him. And he is just pure comedy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I may
Your
think he's
listeners
funnier
are
than other
in
people,
for a
but-
treat.
Yes,
Derek.
exactly, exactly. But that's incredible. I love that story of you guys, and also just how long ago was it?
Oh my gosh. Well, our Miami Beach studio has been open now it'll be 11 years.
Wow.
And so this would have happened like 12 or so years ago, 12 or 13,
Yeah.
that we started talking about it. And then 12 when they moved, because they moved a year before. Yeah.
Congratulations. And
Yeah.
just-
No, we have the best community of people down here in Miami, like really extraordinary
Yeah, for
people that
sure.
show up, that bring their positivity, bring their therapy, but it's a really
Bring
safe
their A game.
space. Yeah.
the culture
Yeah.
is like really, you can't replicate
Yeah.
it. Because you walk in there, you feel the energy, and you just know you're like, and that's the primary reason I go is because I surpass my full potential. I leave it all on the
Yeah.
floor, and I can't do that by myself or even with
Yeah.
a trainer. It's something about that contagious energy
Yeah.
environment.
Group and
I
being
love
with a group.
I love
you
it.
know?
It like brings me back to the dance studio days. Like,
Yeah.
it is that for me. So it fits with what I believe in physical expression, and the same thing with music and art expression. Like, my goal is, intention is always to give people a place to be able to be themselves, to leave it all on the floor, and to gain self-confidence. You can go forward in every other aspect of your life with confidence.
James and Derek are hysterical. Derek, I don't know if he coined the phrase, but he said he refers to himself as an entertainer.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes
Yes, he does.
entertainer,
Yes,
and a
yes,
trainer.
yes.
And James is so funny. I told you we were doing like Midtown workouts, and we just finished a workout in the locker room. He's like, "Can I do a TikTok of you? We need to get some content out
Oh,
there
good.
for Barry's."
Yeah.
And
Hustle.
they're
Yes.
they seem to be fun business partners. I know
They are
you've-
fun business partners and friends. Yeah.
You've traveled with them,
And that was a pivot. Barry's, you just kind of go, and I was like, wait, this does fit into my ethos of life and business, and so
Yeah.
But again,
it can all be
yeah,
interconnected.
it can all be interconnected,
but never
while still being true to what your original life path is and your original goals are that you have as a child. And I think for all of the kids that are in your programs, like, stay true to that.
Yeah.
But then don't be afraid to listen or to other paths that maybe take you off
Right.
of because you can still be on that path and have little tributaries and come back, and tributaries and come back, and it adds and grows.
I love that. My brain is going a little
Yeah.
wild because like it just kind of always what you're saying makes so much sense and just reinforces. It's like embrace change. You never know.
Never know.
In this life, you never know, and it's like just kind of like if you deviate from what you think
Yeah.
is the plan, you have to kind
Yeah.
of realize that maybe there's a bigger universe
bigger
out
one.
there that's kind of like helping guide you in this direction.
Correct. I think that's absolutely true.
I love Derek and James. Just to go back to them, we had we bumped into each other a little bit at Summit at Sea.
Oh, yes, we
2
did.
years ago. But I know that you are an avid attendee of Summit at Sea. Summit Impact, you're on the board.
I am. Yes, I'm on the board of Summit Impact, their nonprofit arm, which is super exciting.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Summit at Sea and what I find very interesting about conversations that you and I have had were whether it be Summit Impact or even kind of just your philanthropic ideology, impact investing.
Yeah.
I think that is such a powerful thing. I'm a believer. I don't think, even by the title, it sounds like you would put it together. But if you could just kind of explain that.
Yeah, actually, I would say, I think that, there's been a division in how people think about philanthropy and then investing. And, especially like, it's like, okay, I'm going to make investments that have, that are financially fruitful, or, there's one way of looking at that, and then it's like, oh, and then I'm going to give money to charity. I think that there is a way to marry those two things in your head, in your heart, where it's like I'm investing in impact. The results are the impact that I'm making.
Yeah.
As opposed to I'm giving stuff away.
Yeah.
I think that it's extremely powerful when you reroute it or reframe it that way. That the money you are investing in organizations or investing in people, then the return is impact.
Yeah.
And measurable impact. And like we're starting to see a lot of measurable impact in our programs, which is super exciting. Like graduation rates have skyrocketed in places where kids didn't even go to school because of their exposure to music. So that's a very measurable way of, it's measuring the impact that you're making. So I think for people that are thinking about how they're using dollars for, how they're spending C3 dollars, investing C3 dollars, like, that's for nonprofit dollars, that our generation before us may have thought about it as, oh, I'm giving it to charity. Think about it as you're investing in an impact. And so if you're looking for organizations with which to invest in, think about the impact that they're making and ask about it.
Yeah.
And then that's a different way of framing how.
Smart giving.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. You do a lot, I mean, a mom is a full-time job.
She sure is. No, it's the best. I waited a while to be a mom. I had a lot going on in my 20s and 30s, and it was worth the wait. It is it is 100% full-time, but it is compounding everything I've ever done. It's like now I get to show this all to her, this amazing world.
Right.
The philanthropic world, the business world. I mean, we haven't even mentioned a couple of the companies, the whiskey company.
Yeah, 9-banded whiskey, another pivot.
Another.
But it was a whiskey company that two friends and I came up with not came up with the idea clearly for whiskey. Whiskey's been around for a really long time, but just I spent a lot of time in Austin, Texas, and I love Austin. And we were in my kitchen there, and just thinking about how Austin didn't have an Austin whiskey, and so we were like, we should try this.
Yeah.
And so we did, and it's been 10 years now, and it's a very excellent Texas whiskey made from hill country spring water and named after the armadillo, which is the state animal of Texas, and was also a very, very famous live music venue called the Armadillo World Headquarters back in the 70s and 80s. Willie Nelson and all of the Stevie Ray Vaughan, all those guys played there. So the 9 bands are the 9-band whiskey. So it's back to music.
I love
very
that.
full
I
circle.
love that.
Circle.
Yeah.
What an exciting life you have.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for it every day.
Yeah. So give us your advice on how you balance life, business, and philanthropy.
Life, business, and philanthropy. Okay. Well, I always say, there's the very simple way. You got to try to sleep. And then there's the, I like to say to lead with love. And I think, I know it can sound kind of woo-woo or whatever, but I do think when you try to come back to your center and come from a place of love, when you're whether that's with the work you do, with your personal relationships, if it comes from love, compassion, openness, curiosity, that's how I try to find balance now.
Amen.
Yeah.
I mean,
Love that. Love you.
you're preaching to the right mommy over here. I follow her lead. I mean, if I can keep that as fresh as possible, and Missy likes to reinforce, which I'm lucky about, you know, it's like people are more receptive to that way.
Yeah.
You know,
I think you can read people's BS meter is high, you know? I mean, so I really, really try and fight for authenticity in everything that I'm doing, whether it's with Playing for Change, whether it's how we're presenting Playing for Change, whether it's Barry's, it's how I show up. Like I said, showing up. I remember I told my husband that early on. That was a very big thing for me, was show up.
Right.
Whether that means emotionally, physically, in any way. I think you show up for people and they show up for you. And then, you know, that's how the world goes around.
Yeah.
So.
well, we have another last bit of thing for you to kind of show up and give a whirl.
Okay.
And it's our donate or dare wheel.
Okay.
So it's behind your left shoulder.
So
You're gonna
I'm just
walk
supposed
over
to go walk
there.
over here?
Go for it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And have you ever won anything in your life? Because you're no matter what, you're winning today.
Some dance stuff.
Oh wow! Yes.
Scholarship.
Love the accolades. Give us one. What was one of the most prestigious accomplishments?
Well, Playing for Change, and I don't say it wasn't my award. It was given to Mark and I, but it was for Playing for Change. It was called the Polar Music Prize, and it was in Stockholm.
Great.
And they give it to a couple musicians or music organizations each year for excellence in the field, and it was like it's been given to like Bruce Springsteen and, you know.
Congrats.
I mean, people off the charts, and we were so honored. But I take that on behalf of every single person that works in the organization and that has worked in the organization and stuff, because it's not an I in our work at all.
For sure. Very well said. Very accurate. All right.
All right, let's do this.
Let's see what you got.
This way? Okay.
Vienna.
Okay. This is pretty self-explanatory. Donate or dare.
Yep. We have a dare.
Oh.
Okay. I may let you off the hook a little bit easier, but we have a TikTok that is really right up your alley.
All right.
But I wanted you to sing a little something, but you're not
I'm not
a singer.
I'll do it. I'm just kidding.
What if I put you on the spot right there for some sort of dance move?
Okay. You're lucky because I just did lots of pirouetting with Izzy. Let's see if I can find some.
Can we get you in the corner right there?
Where? Over here?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, let me do. This was like an old one that was just like a.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I just did a little.
I love it. We love it.
That's something I like to use that I had in college.
Oh, wow.
You
That's
still
pretty.
got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So please
I
come.
should have worn my tutu.
I guess we do have to prepare our guests a little bit more. Whitney Kroenke Silverstein, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Seriously, it's such a treat, such an honor.
You've just been so receptive and showing so much like gratitude for being on the podcast, which made it extra special. Just to reinforce that this is the right direction and that sharing stories of impact like yours, we know and are very confident moving forward that this is going to really change lives.
Yeah. The
You
world
guys-
needs more people like you.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. You're an inspiration, and it's been an honor to be on here. I was so humbled to be asked. I was like, oh, I hope I have some nuggets of wisdom.
Of course.
You do.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Hearts and Stars Podcast. Check out this episode on heartsandstars.com.